Here at Helmuth Ford, we are a small town dealership with no hassle and no pressure.
Johnny Rogers with the history of rock and roll is coming to the Watch Your Opera House this Saturday, February 1st from 6 to 8 p.m. featuring the music of Buddy Holly, Elvis Presley, Richie Valens, The Big Bopper, Ricky Nelson, the Everly Brothers, and so much more. Tickets are $30, which you can purchase at the door or online at watchyouraoperahouse.org. Come and see Iowa Rock and Roll Hall of Famer Johnny Rogers this Saturday, February 1st at the Watch Your Opera House.
Hi, I'm Brenda Pape, owner of the Unique Salon here in Oskaloosa, Iowa, and we are hiring a hairstylist. This station could be yours if you're interested in the job here at the Unique Salon. We have openings for a commission-based stylist or even a rental stylist. So if you're interested, please get back to me at the Unique Salon, 673-4969. Thank you.
Looking for something to do this Friday night? Come see Cody Hicks with an acoustic show live at the Keswick Tavern, 117 South Irons in Keswick. It's this Friday, January 31st from 8 to 11 p.m. Plus, there's no cover charge. You're going to hear all your favorite tunes acoustic style with Iowa's Cody Hicks this Friday from 8 to 11 at the Keswick Tavern, now under new ownership with Ike Schmidt.
No, maybe not.
Okay. Says we're live.
All right. Okay. All right. Welcome to this edition of Morgan You Asked For podcast. Trying something a little bit different here, but I think it didn't work. I thought we were going to get on Twitter, but I got to do one more thing, I think. So maybe next time we'll see. Lots to talk about in the NFL. Obviously, the championship games were played last week, and then talking about the Super Bowl, second time in 3 years for this matchup. And then we got basketball to talk about, and then probably the biggest story in Iowa right now is the Caitlin Clark is coming back this weekend and jersey retirement, and how much that is going to be to get in, and just everything that surrounds that on national TV. And then I think the most intriguing part is it's against Juju Watkins and USC, but we'll get to that at the end of the podcast here. A couple things. I do want to thank Steve Shetler and Dan Bryce for getting us on, Steve Shetler Media and Dan Bryce at DB Landscaping, a couple guys that do help us out here in the podcast and get us to reach to a bigger audience and help us get a little bit bigger here on Morgan You Asked For podcast. Welcome, Trev, and just you're the NFL guy here. Just kind of give us your recaps on the games, so we can start with let's start with the NFC one. Not near the game that the other one was. But how did you see the Eagles and Commanders?
Well, I mean, it's just another week of proving that Saquon Barkley was worth every dollar that the Eagles spent for him. Running backs still matter. There was a couple years there where people thought running backs didn't matter anymore. We're seeing that they do. The running game and defense obviously still matters come playoff time. So Saquon's worth every dollar. And then Washington just made too many mistakes. From early on in the game with turnovers, fumbling the ball. They weren't buttoned up. That was a new spot for them. They haven't been in the championship game in a long time. Eagles, second time in 3 years. You could see they were more comfortable in the game. And, hats off to Washington for making it close there for a while. But, toward the end there, Eagles just ran away with it, which isn't that surprising. I mean, Eagles are a train right now. And I think the Super Bowl that we're going to get into here in a little bit, it could be an all-time clash, just like the last one was between these two teams.
Yeah, people forget, obviously the Eagles made the Super Bowl 2 years ago. Last year they were 10-0 or somewhere right around that, and then kind of collapsed. But they've won for the last 3 years. Since Sirianni's been there, they've won. And I know at the beginning of the year he was having his issues. The team was having a couple issues there. Yelling at people, Hurts and Sirianni relationship broken, whatever you want to talk about. But whatever it is, they're winning. They are a great team. You can make an argument they're the best team left. Saquon is proving that running backs still matter. If you have a good one, you got to have a good one. And John Mara with the Giants just still has to be kicking himself because you could tell when you watched Hard Knocks, he didn't want him to go, and he really didn't want him to go to the Eagles or in the division. And I'm surprised because of that actually Daboll and the GM still have a job.
Yeah, we talked about last week. I think it's just a classic case that Mara's been going through coaches every 2 to 3 years. So I think you just going to let them stick it out. Unless they find a quarterback, those two are done. For Howie Roseman and the Eagles, Howie Roseman continues to prove that he's one of the best, if not the best GMs in the entire NFL when it comes to drafting. They've hit on a ton of draft picks. You and I talk about that every year, the importance of it, having players on cheap contracts to control the cap. That's part of the reason they had some money to go and spend on Saquon is because they've hit on young guys the past few years via the draft, which is important. So Howie Roseman's been there a while. He makes a lot of smart decisions. And again, even after the NFC Championship win, Jalen Hurts goes, "Yeah, Sirianni let me out of my straitjacket." And he's such a serious guy when he talks. It almost seems like he's upset, but we've talked about it. The Eagles, Sirianni, Philadelphia. It's weird. It's different. It's not like any relationship I've ever seen between coach and quarterback, but however it works, it's working though for him.
Well, and I just look at Jalen Hurts just wins, and he always kind of gets passed over. He won in high school, went to Alabama, started as a freshman, won a national title or at least got to the championship game, but then Tua comes in and they kind of battle it out, take turns. Hurts gets hurt. Tua comes in, wins the national championship for him. Then the next year, Tua's a starter, Hurts is a backup. Tua gets hurt, Hurts has to come in. I mean, it's just back and forth, but he just wins. He goes to Oklahoma. He ends up getting second in the Heisman. Obviously had a great career at Oklahoma in the 1 year. And then he's just this is his 4th year in the NFL, 5th year? And he's been to 2 Super Bowls already, and last year led his team to a 10-0 record before kind of the wheels fell off, but he just wins no matter what he does.
Yeah, he's a winner. He doesn't throw the ball real pretty. He's a little bit undersized. Obviously, it works for the tush push, though, of course, which we'll get into that with the AFC game. But yeah, you're right. He wins a lot every single year. Last year they had a little bit of collapse out at the end. I think they lost 6 straight or 7 straight, including that playoff game. But however, they got the train back on the tracks. I don't know how they did, but they did because, again, after week 4, I think they were sitting there at 2-2. That's when Sirianni had the incident with the fan, shaved his head. And ever since then, they haven't looked back. So whatever they did, they got it corrected.
Absolutely. I mean, it's just – and as a city/fan base, they are probably the least liked in the country. Them and Boston and New York are all 3 those are probably the 3 worst Northeast people are just kind of that way. I'm not from the Northeast. Never really been there, but you look at fan bases, they just are not well liked and they don't care and they're just going to do it their way. And that's the way it is.
They're a loud fan base for sure. They're pretty obnoxious. We've seen Eagle fans in the stands, lots of videos of that. Some specifically that we've seen recently, but yeah, this is the Eagles were the dominant team in the NFC. We'll get to the AFC Championship here in just a second, but I think if you were to replay these playoffs 10 times, I think this is the Super Bowl matchup that we'd get 7 or 8 out of those 10 times. Yeah. I mean, obviously the Bills are going to beat the Chiefs again. Like you said, if you play every game 10 times, the Bills are going to beat the Chiefs a few times there. I do think the Chiefs win more than the Bills, but I do think that the Eagles are just a lot better than everybody in the NFC. I don't like to see the Lions get by the Commanders and see that game in Detroit. I do think the Eagles are playing better. We're playing better and just a better team, but you get the NFC Championship back in the 2nd straight year in Detroit.
I think the Lions put up one heck of a fight, and they win several of those matchups as well.
Yeah, they might be able to win some. I wish they would have been healthy going into the playoffs. If they would have had Hutchinson and McNeil and Davis and some of those other guys, then it really would have been a much better battle. But switching over to the AFC game, the one that was really close, Josh Allen's now 0-4. And one thing I did want to hit on is, I think Ryan Clark said this: I don't watch SportsCenter really anymore unless there's a game on ESPN that I have to watch. Otherwise I don't really watch many other programs. But I think I saw something that Ryan Clark said there's going to be a lot of these AFC players, quarterbacks specifically, that end up with gold jackets that don't have a ring when their career's over. When you look at the big three, besides Patrick Mahomes, you look at Burrow, Allen, and Jackson. They're all 28 years old, all three of them. They're all going to turn 29 either before the season or during. Let's say they've got 6 more years of prime left between the three. I think, if you would ask this question 2 or 3 years ago, people would all said all three of them will probably end up with the ring at some point. Well, if they've only got 6 years of prime left, the chances of all three of them getting a ring aren't very likely. And then the second part of that is if any of them do get past Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs and slay the dragon there, they still have to go play the Super Bowl and play the NFC opponent. Right. So we could be looking back in 15, 20 years, and maybe only one of those three gets a ring, or two, or none of them for that matter.
Yeah. Well, Mahomes is the same age, right? Isn't he 27, 28?
No, he's either 29 or he's already 30.
Okay, so he's a year older than those guys.
I think it was the same. Let me see here. I'm looking real quick.
Him and Allen were in the same draft class, weren't they?
No,
they weren't.
The Bills traded away. Let me see here.
The Bills traded it to, and because that's kind of the thing. Xavier Worthy, isn't he a Bills draft pick for the Chiefs?
Yeah, the Bills traded away their position for both Patrick Mahomes and Xavier Worthy with the Chiefs in the 2 different drafts. Mahomes is 29, so he's just a little bit older than those other 3. But it sucks for the Bills. The Chiefs were more buttoned up, specifically on those tush pushes that Buffalo tried. I don't mind them trying it. Allen's a big guy; he's got long arms, but they went to the left a lot. Tony Romo even spoke about it during the game, that the Chiefs scouted that out, that Allen loves to go to the left, and they just kept doing that. You almost wonder if they should have had one where maybe they fake it to the left, or they do a boot to the left, and then Allen circles back to the right, kind of like the Chiefs draw plays with Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. They relied on Allen a little too much. A lot of Bills fans are mad that they didn't use Cook more in the game, which I agree with, especially on the last drive. He's one of their best players, and he didn't have enough touches. But there's just the Chiefs, they're Michael Jordan and Tiger Woods and Muhammad Ali all mixed together, and they just know how to win. And these other teams, it's going to be really tough for them to ever get past Kansas City. I hope they do. Like I said, I'd love to see Allen, Burrow, and Jackson all get a ring in their career, but it's not guaranteed by any means.
Well, that's so Mahomes has been to 7 straight AFC Championship games. He's lost to Brady, the greatest ever, and then Burrow, and both in overtime.
Mm-hmm.
So he has not been beat in a regular game in the AFC Championship game in his career.
Yeah, and eventually, I don't think they're going to win 10 straight or anything, but still, like I said, even if any of these guys get past the Chiefs, they still have to go play the Super Bowl. Right. And there's no guarantee they win that game. So even if you slay the dragon in the Chiefs one year, that may feel like a Super Bowl win. You still got to go play another game.
Yeah, and then you never know what happened. I mean, you look at the Chiefs. Chiefs were a big-time favorite against the Bucs, weren't they? And then it just didn't work out. I mean, whatever happened in that game, their linemen were hurt, and the Bucs essentially dominated that game. Or it was almost like Brady was there. This was their one opportunity, and they were not letting that go away. And yeah, so Brady's really the only one that's gotten Mahomes more than once.
Yeah, I forget what the spread ended up being before the kickoff of that Bucs-Chiefs game, but the Chiefs were down 3 offensive linemen.
Yeah,
that's the Super Bowl I've won the most money in. I had everything on the Bucs that year. Mm-hmm. I was telling all my friends,
you were on the Bucs from like week 5. Just wait. You were on them early. I mean,
And then with the Chiefs being down 3 offensive linemen, the Bucs defense in that playoff run, they were phenomenal. So that was a good year for me as far as betting goes. But yeah, back to that. I mean, it sucks for Allen and them, but really that last drive, they get the ball back with a little over 3 minutes or whatever it was. I think they got a first down, and then all they got after that was 5 yards. Allen threw a couple bad passes. 3rd down, you get 5 yards, and then on 4th, I mean, is that coaching? Is that all on Allen? But the Chiefs do know that Josh Allen loves to go to his right, and that's where they sent the blitz from. So if they had Andy Reid drawing up a play, they would have went left and fooled him. But the Chiefs are ready. Spags is ready. That's why it's tough to beat these dynasties. And you take all the stupid penalty stuff out of it that everyone's complaining about. The Chiefs are just more buttoned up than other teams.